Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. And today is our first interview, and we are very honored to have Josh Howard as our first interviewee. He is the Assistant Vice President and Branch Manager at Gallagher Bassett. So thank you so much, Josh, for being here, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, Katie. I appreciate it. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely. So first, can you just start off by telling everyone what you do in your day-to-day role and just your job in general?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm the work comp branch manager here at Gallagher Bassett over the Sampo program. Been here almost 2 years. What I do daily is a little bit of everything, right? It's really just facilitating the staff and making sure that the branch is running appropriately and going down the path that we ultimately want to strive to go down. It's a lot of interaction. It's a lot of working with people, relationship building, networking, dealing with different departments, dealing with different people and issues, which I relish in. So that's kind of the 10,000-foot view of my day to day, because no 2 days are the same. It's always changing, always a different environment, which is really cool.
Absolutely. That sounds like it keeps you pretty busy.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But busy's good, right? Makes the day go by quicker.
Absolutely, absolutely. And can you talk a little bit into how you got into this role and maybe coming out of college, what you went to college for, and then kind of walk us through what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, to say the least. My career is definitely not cookie cutter by any means. I went to the University of Arizona, graduated in '02, and was a bartender out of school. I had no idea what I really wanted to do when I grew up, kind of thing. Went to school for marketing, knew I didn't want to go into marketing or anything of that sorts. So bartended for a few months after school and was approached by an insurance company. Prudential approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to be a claims adjuster?" And gave me a salary, which I thought was millions of dollars at the time. It sounded like that compared to what I was making bartending. So I jumped into insurance claims. No idea about anything in the industry. I knew my parents paid for my car insurance, and that was about it, right? I didn't know anything about what it actually meant. Soon thereafter, Prudential was bought by Liberty Mutual, and that's really where I cut my teeth. I started my career, for the most part, at Liberty Mutual, did auto and bodily injury claims, even dabbled in homeowners a little bit. So kind of was well-rounded from the start. A lot of different departments that I got to learn and experience and work in. And I was fortunate enough, I had a great mentor, a great leader at Liberty Mutual that gave me a lot of chance and a lot of opportunity and got me into leadership very early on. I'd always been in athletics, always team captain, stuff like that. So I've led individuals in a team sport environment, but never done it in a professional environment. And he gave me that opportunity. So Jim Gasparo, thank you for all of those opportunities. He was instrumental early in my career for sure. And really started the leadership ranks. And again, progressed in various departments. I spent roughly 14 years at Liberty Mutual and ultimately got to where I was running one of their branches, in a sense, one of their claims offices in Dallas, Texas. Again, another great mentor gave me an opportunity and really saw something in me and really threw me out there to learn, where I got to build and develop teams. So no longer was I just managing individual contributors. I was actually leading teams and teams of individuals, had 60 people at the time underneath me, and really got to learn how to build an organization and learn the ins and outs of that. After that, I transitioned a little bit. I wanted to expand my scope and move into the commercial side of things. So I worked for a car dealership and actually built their insurance program, which was brand new to me. I had to learn the commercial side, had to learn the GL side, had to learn the risk management, the work comp side, and did that for a few years, kind of building out their program in its entirety. And again, wanted another personal challenge. So I moved over to Nationwide Private Client, which was a subsidiary of Nationwide Insurance, but operated completely different. It was a high net worth client, policies at a minimum of $1 million, umbrellas at $25 million. So dealing with some really high profile clients. We had Peyton Manning, we had the CEO of Nationwide as a insured under that umbrella. And again, more auto bodily injury stuff on that side. But that really allowed me to build an organization that lacked structure, that lacked any process or procedure. It was a brand new company. I had started there when they were about a year and a half old. So we really got to build that from the ground up. So that was kind of laying the groundwork to what I did over the last 5 to 7 years. After about 3 or 4 years there, I moved over to Kemper Insurance and again changed it up a little bit. I wanted to take over a organization that was again kind of struggling to find its way. Didn't have structure, didn't have organization, didn't really have anything on an upward trajectory. So again, I got to build teams and build process and build structure and really get that in a good place. And that's exactly what we did, which was very successful there. Actually got to work alongside my mentor. I mentioned Jim Gasparo. He was at Kemper at the time on the bodily injury side, doing the exact same thing. I was on the auto side. I was also very fortunate enough to work with Melissa Hill at Kemper. So the last 2 years of my time there was working underneath her. She was responsible for the entire organization, and again saw something in me that ultimately kind of led me to this world that I'm in now, the branch manager here at Gallagher Bassett on the comp side. Again, similar kind of thing. Took this over a couple years ago, and the organization trying to find its way, right? Not really having much as far as structure or a defined purpose or goal. High profile client with Sampo, very demanding, a lot of responsibility there for sure. And spent the last couple of years kind of righting the ship and really building something here with the entirety of the staff, the leadership team, all the RMs, everybody really kind of finding that upward trajectory and forward direction, something to aim for and to shoot for. So in a very short 5 minute span, that's kind of my career in a nutshell.
Great. And I love, how you talked about so many different connections with people and mentoring and how that's really built the foundation for you to move into all of these different roles. I think that's amazing. And that's really what we're trying to hone in on here. So I love that you referenced that as well.
That's been absolutely instrumental for me, right? I'm not a believer in forced mentors and in finding a mentor for mentor's sake. I want it to be more organic. A lot of my experience has been with my direct leaders or leaders that are kind of in different parts of the organization that I've just kind of gravitated towards. So I like that organic component. I don't like the forced relationship where you have to meet weekly or monthly or whatever have you. It seems to work better if it's just more of a two sides of the coin. They're getting something out of it based on my experience and thoughts and ideas, and I'm getting a ton out of it based on exactly that, their thoughts and ideas and experience first and foremost. So I think that that's a vital piece of this, and I definitely wouldn't be here without a few individuals along the way that saw something in me that were like, yep, you know what, there's something there, let's hone in on it, let's grow it, let's see if that will turn into something kind of thing. And it's absolutely springboarded me into different areas.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And in terms of, getting to the role you're in, and you talked about all these amazing different steps that you took and leaps that people took to get you to where you are today as well. What are some specific maybe characteristics or traits, things that you think are valuable that you really honed in on to get you to where you are today?
The thing that I carry with me with every single role is transparency. Especially from a leadership perspective, being transparent with your direct reports, with your organization, has been absolutely vital for me. And that's what's really allowed me to really transcend others that maybe have more tenure, has allowed me to build the respect and gain the respect and trust from my team really quickly and really early on. I go back to Liberty Mutual, where I was essentially kind of thrown into a manager role, over leaders kind of thing. Had no experience. There was another couple folks that were already in the role for many, many years, if not decades, already doing that kind of thing. And I had to quickly gain 5 leaders trust, respect, and wanting to work with me kind of thing in a very quick manner. And the thing that I always rely on is utmost transparency. Now you have to toe the line with big business and stuff like that. There's certain things you can explain, certain things you can't explain. So finding that balance of giving them the why and giving them the reasoning behind things, but not divulging too much, not giving the secret sauce in a sense from an organizational perspective. That's really allowed folks to grab onto me, kind of run with me, and make things successful in a very short amount of time. I have very little, I have a lot of patience, but I like things quickly. I like to progress quickly. I'm a perfectionist. I've got a lot of OCD and I'm very organized in that manner. So I really want to get to certain spots quickly. So I challenge continually. I try to find motivators quickly and often and mix those up to try to get us to a certain level at a much faster pace. And I think people appreciate that and they've really latched onto that and followed suit.
Definitely. And that also kind of falls into the communication aspect of this industry in general and just professional jobs. Communication goes such a long way. And I think transparency, like you said, really is something that people respect, and it makes them want to follow you and to really assist you as a team. So I think that's great that you mentioned that as well. Our last question is going to be, what is some information, some tips that you wish that you knew maybe when you were starting out or early on in your career that you would like to pass along to anyone kind of in that same position, maybe unsure where they want to go, what they want to do? What do you wish that you could tell them or could tell yourself?
So I think early on in my career, especially, and early on in leadership, the biggest struggle with myself, and I see it to this day with leaders that I mentor and bring on in a early in their career aspect, is being able to individualize their approach with their staff. Everyone says it, everyone talks about it. Make sure that you develop individualized plans and work with that said individual to find motivators, to find what really energizes them, what drives them to want to succeed. But too often, that's kind of lost in translation. When you get into a leadership role, you want your team to be successful so bad that you'll implement things on a whim, that you'll go into it kind of with a blind eye to everything else and have that mentality of your way is the highway to a certain degree. It was one of my faults early on in my career, and I still to this day have to remind myself not to have that mindset. And I tell that of any leader at any part of their career is to make sure you're doing everything you can to individualize your strategy and your style to that individual person. It's only going to make them better. It's only going to, like I said, make them more energetic, more motivated, drive to succeed harder because it's already inherent in them. And then that should translate from them down to their staff and doing the exact same thing. So I think that that's been the biggest eye-opening moment for me in my career. It's still, like I said, not necessarily as much of a struggle, but it's still something I have to be cognizant of very, very frequently to make sure that we just don't get regimented in a, hey, let's do this universal process or this universal procedure and make sure that everybody follows it the exact same way. It's probably the biggest premise and the biggest takeaway, and I learned this from several mentors early on, and it's why I preach this to all my leaders now. Run your organization like it's your own business, right? Like it's a franchise. McDonald's is a franchise. Every franchise is owned by its own entity and runs slightly different within the parameters of overarching McDonald's, right? I want my teams to feel and operate the same way. We have our Sampo GB parameters that we have to, our big bubble that we have to be within the confines of, but you have the autonomy to run your business, run your team as you see fit. If it's subtly different with a certain process, if it's subtly different with cadence on meetings, with approaches to your staff, with what you do with your staff, with how you communicate, you can mention a million different ways and things to think about it, but running your team like it's your own business seems to drive the leader to really want to succeed. They want their business to be successful, and they know if that's the case, the overarching business is successful. And it also teaches their staff that mentality as well. So I think that that's really resonated the most with me throughout my career. And been the biggest obstacle to continually overcome and have to circle back to and remind ourselves on.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point to finish on that kind of hones in on everything we talked about today. So I think that's awesome. And this was such a great way to kick this page off and these segments off with the leadership role and really diving into how you can kind of come from any background and end up in any role if you have that drive and dedication. So I love that we mentioned that as well. So thank you so much for being our first interviewee. I really appreciate your time, and I hope everyone enjoyed this first segment as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Katie. I really appreciate this. I relish in stuff like this, what you're building here, what you're starting here. It's the exact mindset that I want any person to have and take forward with them, is just to learn as much as you can from as many individuals as possible and really build up your skill set in many different areas, because you're so valuable when that is the case. And this is a great testament to you and a great thing forward. So I'm honored and humbled to be part of this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.